All right, that's better. Welcome to the return of the Heroic Nation podcast. It was super epic because this is super epic. The podcast is returning and is better than ever. New studio, home studio, which is really just my kitchen. So super basic, like back to basics with this stuff, back to just having conversations and interviews and back to forcing myself into circles that I shouldn't be included in. So that's kind of the goal of my podcast, selfishly, is to create the most heroic conversations with people that are way cooler than me and learn some cool shit along the way. So today I sat down with potential co-host, because these conversations are always better with other people involved. It just adds more perspective, and it's just more fun, right? So I'm going on a hunt for a co-host, much like Kelly Ripa did after Regis Philbin left her show. So you just call me Kelly Ripa, and that's how I identify. So if you don't like that I identify as Kelly Ripa, you can go fuck yourself. So me and my buddy Spencer sat down. He's on the SWAT team with me, and again, don't ask me what department I work for. I will not discuss that. And the views of the Heroic Nation podcast and Heroic Industries are my own and do not represent any agency whatsoever and has no affiliation with any government agency or police department or anything else to that effect. There you go. There's my disclaimer. So we talked about a bunch of random stuff, ranging from how we are training, how he's training, different injuries that we've had, because it's been a lot. So we've been ripped apart and reconstructed more times than hopefully you are. But if you are in that boat, hopefully this will shed some insight into, hey, listen, we've all been through some shit. We've had to rebuild ourselves physically multiple times, and it is possible as much as it is a pain in the ass. But you can do it. You should do it. The other option is roll over and die, which is obviously not what we're about. And rolling over and giving up and dying like a little punk is not very heroic either. So talked a lot about that. Talked a lot about stress management. You can hear my dogs running around in the background. Like I said, it's a home studio. And there's a couple of times that you hear Spence yell, quit sniffing me and quit licking my shoes or something to that effect. That's not me. Those are my dogs that are being a pain in the ass. So don't judge me on that. And it's a pretty cool conversation. So again, let me know what you guys think about it and if we should keep Spence as a co-host or if the search should continue. I have money. Mm-hmm. I think we work the same job, man.
We do. Kind of.
All right. Well, why don't you give me a rundown on your background and who you are? I mean, I already know, but it makes for a more interesting show if people know who you're.
All right. I'm a cop for almost 9 years now. Been working out all my life, so that. Playing hockey, football, college. Went to college, played football, but pretty boring.
We're at
Defiance.
What is that? That's D3. Yeah. Cool. Well, what are you doing for training right now?
Nothing specific. I should, but I don't. I was actually just talking to another cop. We were talking about building our own plan together, kind of, so you have something to follow. I've never really followed plans. I've just kind of.
Who are you talking to?
Jake. Just kind of winging it. When they're stop sniffing my feet, and I usually just kind of wing it when I go in there. I was doing 8x8 for a while after surgeries and stuff, but I've started lifting a little bit heavier
now. So I get in that same kind of mode where it's if I start a program, whether it's like 8 weeks or 16 weeks or whatever, like something always derails it, right? Do you think that's just and I know like we're not the only ones that deal with that, like other dudes on the team that like George, like specifically.
I think sometimes you start getting through it, you get into it, and you don't see the results you want to see, and so you don't stick with it, and you just go back to stuff that you've had results with. So that's been my experience.
So I think there's more. Yeah, that's definitely part of it where it's like, all right, something new. I don't really trust the system or trust the process. But I guess I can only speak for me. But like when I get derailed on shit, it's this fucking schedule, like the 4 and 2, and all of a sudden we got call outs, and it's like, all right, I missed all last week, so now what do? Do I backtrack or do I just cut that out of the program? And then all of a sudden, like you're 2 weeks later and you got 4 out of the required 16 workouts in. And
I try to just do the best like schedule I ever had for working out was I would do like three on, 1 off, 3 on, 1, and it would rotate. So I didn't have specific days of
what that is?
Working out. What?
That's CrossFit.
No,
that's CrossFit HQ.
No.
CrossFit HQ, 3 on, 1 off.
Yeah, except I
3 on, 1 off.
Like that. So I would do like chest and tries, back and bis, and then legs.
And that's when you were going to CrossFit regionals.
No, and then I would have a day off or do like light cardio or something like that, and then I'd go back to chest and tries, back and bis, or chest and bis, whatever. I mean, that's the split that I would do though. It'd be like an upper push, an upper pull, and then lower.
Yeah. So when do you work legs in?
That's the third day.
The third day.
Yep, is all
third day. Okay, all legs.
So the first day would be push, second day would be pull, third day would be legs.
Why do you prioritize legs last, man?
Because I hate legs.
God. Trash.
Legs are trash. Nobody wants to do legs.
What do you do? Where do you work for what do you do for conditioning work?
Nothing. Lately I've been doing I used to run a lot. I don't run much anymore. I ran 3 miles last week and it tore me up the rest of the whole week with my hips. But been doing like incline walks on the treadmill with weight, without weight, biking more. That's about it.
Any like time domain, frequency, and nothing like that?
No. I mean, like when I walk, I'll do like a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But I don't
how much time?
10 minutes usually. Or it depends. I'll do like a 10-minute incline walk on the treadmill for like a warm up. Or like, like on legs or something like that for like a cardio warm up, or I'll do like sled drags when it's at least halfway decent outside, or pushes, whatever with the crawler sled.
Yeah.
And then, but that's about it. But if I'm just doing like conditioning work, I'll walk on the treadmill for like 20 minutes, or I'll do a mile, something like that.
And where do you fit that into that schedule?
Wednesday or on the weekend, and then I play hockey on Sundays too, so that's also good conditioning.
Yeah.
I mean, I skate a lot, so
I think that's a big one. Obviously, I have a CrossFit background, but like CrossFit does promote that, where it's like, hey, learn and play new sports often.
Yeah.
So like playing games, and we just lose so much touch of that. Which sucks though, because when you start getting banged up, it's like I can't even play this fucking game anymore because it hurts so bad.
We like Brian and I would play like football a lot.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, and I haven't played in a couple of years, and now he said something about we need to get flag football going, and I was like, dude, I don't even know if I can do it.
Oh my God, that terrifies me to even think about.
Yeah, it would. I don't know.
Like planning and cutting on turf.
That I'm not as worried about. It's just how I would feel afterwards. I don't think I would. Yeah. I don't think I'd get messed up doing it, but like the next day, I would feel broken then, and that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
I'd feel even more broken now because I am broken.
Right. All right. So what's status with your hips?
Not good. My left one's okay. My right one's just awful. Like can't even put my socks on.
Yeah. Have you done any of that wide stance stuff?
Yeah,
so let's kind of recap a little bit. So the surgery that you had, most recent one, what was that?
Impingement. So femoral-tubular impingement, and it was on the socket and on the femur. So I had both.
So both sides, cam and pincer leads.
Yes. And then that's from hockey. and I also have that in my left hip, but it doesn't bother me as much. And then I had a torn labrum, and they did about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches of reconstruction with cadaver tendon.
2 or 3 inches?
Yeah,
that's a lot.
About that much. Yeah.
Yeah, usually they're talking like millimeters when they fix shit like that, aren't they?
No, when he showed me, he goes, "We had to do about that much."
No, I'm saying like usually though, like that's a big that's a big reconstruction for the labrum.
Yeah, it was just shredded. But they said I also have like grade 3 arthritis, and they cleaned up as much as they could. But I don't know if now, like it just kept like right there is about all the range of motion I have. But doing like the wide stance squats, like the other day I did on Thursday, I was doing the higher of that box there, with 315 on wide, and it felt good. But I also did a lot of warm ups, like the Squat University bands come down and push out to try and loosen that up, and so I did that beforehand too. That works. But
how did it feel after?
Not bad actually. The next day I didn't hurt that much.
So you didn't force into deep flexion and you went wider. Did you get like good glute activation on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's different than typical, right?
Yeah. I can feel it stretch the hip too. It's like just like not bad, but like just to the point where I'm like just sitting down on the box, or I don't sit, but to touch it. Right at that point, I can feel it like start to stretch.
And then progressively just kind of like lower that.
Yeah.
Yep. I tried to do that with mine, but they were too far gone.
Yeah, I want to go get a cortisone shot. I think my problem, I don't think the labral surgery worked. So I think my labrum's just torn again now.
It just might be tight, man.
It could be. But I mean, for a while after the surgery, it felt better. But now, like, I can't even put my socks on. Like just like trying to get my foot, I just can't even reach it.
Yeah.
Like right here, if I bend right there, I can feel it catching right here.
Do you ever do any yoga?
I don't stretch. I should stretch, but
I think it's worth a shot. I know we talked about it before, but like just forcing through some of that stuff, because the worst case scenario, they're just going to have to replace it anyway.
Well, so eventually they will. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you either get it now or get it later.
Now, one thing I've done that Phil told me to try and helps for a little bit is using one leg on the inversion table.
Oh yeah,
just pulling it, stretching that socket out. And it helps for like a short amount of time, but then an hour later, even half hour later, it's right back tight again.
Yeah.
But it feels really good. You can feel everything surrounding it stretch as it pulls.
How long do you spend in the inversion?
Just whatever I feel like. Nothing specific.
30 minutes?
No, not that long. I feel like that would be unhealthy. I'd pass out. No,
where's Spencer? He's passed out in the inversion table.
30 seconds to a minute, a couple times.
Dude, did you see that thing? That deadlift video, that fail? The dude tried to do a one-arm sumo.
No.
Oh my god, dude, he's got straps. He's trying to do like a one-arm sumo, and Fry sent it to me, and his whole shoulder unraveled. It was one of the grossest fucking things I've ever seen.
Double bicep tear?
Yes. I think it's worse.
I gotta see it.
Oh man. But you might not, because you blew your bicep, but I've done that to my shoulder once. So I was like, oh God. And he was strapped in, so he couldn't get away from it.
Oh.
It was like a torture device. I was like, what is this guy thinking? What's this guy thinking?
That's why you don't do stupid shit like that.
Yeah, unbelievable. Who would think? Why in the fuck would you want to do a 1 rep max sumo single arm deadlift?
Well, I mean, my 1 rep single arm sumo deadlift was 315, but I chugged a beer at the top too.
It was 315. And this was a skinny little twerpy kid too.
Oh, this wasn't like a big guy.
No,
no. I was picturing like some roided out dude.
No, actually, I'm gonna pull it up right now. Stand by. Listen to the dogs. Watch this.
That's like some high school dude.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Oh, oh God. Oh, does that sound added to it?
It was definitely added. But that's what it sounds like. That's definitely what it sounds like when you're at least like when you blew your bicep, could you hear it?
No, I was playing hockey. It was
So
too much noise.
when I ripped my shoulder out, I dove on a fumble and I hit my bottom of my elbow and it jammed my shoulder. My elbow hit down and that force went up, translated through my shoulder and went out the back. And it sounded just like that. It sounded like Velcro ripping, like oh. And it was all of that fascia and all that stuff just being torn apart. And it full like Lethal Weapon, like hanging down dislocation. Oh man, that was terrible. That was one of the most painful things I've ever had.
Your shoulder.
Yeah.
See, mine popped. Because I tore my labrum in high school in my shoulder, but it popped out and then popped back in on its own. And I was blocking somebody like this, and they could just be like, oh.
Yeah.
But it just slipped out, slipped back in.
Yeah.
And I finished the game. It was in like the first half of the
Did you just get it one time?
No, I did it like 3 or 4 times before I finally got it. Because I played all hockey season with it.
Yeah.
After that. So I'd go to hit people and push off, and like you push off with this elbow, and the shoulder would just slide out.
Yeah, just sublux. Yeah. That's annoying. Because my one shoulder did that, so I harnessed it up, and then I dove on that fumble and then ripped the other one out. I was like, you think I could have just put it all in one,
Right?
But yeah, that was the most painful thing ever. Was that full dislocation? I thought I broke my humerus. Like I thought the whole arm was broke, and this is where I lost any and all faith in athletic trainers, because they are just glorified ankle tapers at every level. Like they can tape ankles and give ibuprofen. That's about it. But the dude is like, I'm looking at my shoulder, it's hanging down. There's nothing there. It's just flat. And he, first of all, he wouldn't cut my jersey off, my nasty, smelly practice jersey. He made me lift my arm up to get my jersey off. And that hurt super bad. And then he's looking at my shoulder and he tries for like half a second to try to reduce it and get it back in socket. And he was like, oh, we're just going to take you to the emergency room. I go, try again. And then rotated back and it clicked back in place. And then the assholes at the emergency room, the doctors, didn't believe that it was a full dislocation. They were like, no, I just subluxed. I was like, I'm telling you, it did not. Well, so I don't trust doctors either.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. What other fucked up injuries have you had? Just compare injuries.
That's not it, really. I had I fucked up my left shoulder. Got hit, and I had an AC separation, and it just never healed. And the clavicle was all swollen, and I just couldn't do anything. So they went in and took out like a 1/4 inch of my clavicle.
Oh, shaved it down.
Yeah, and just cleaned out all the inflammation.
Yeah,
it's been good since.
Yeah, I'm always questionable on that.
Twisted ankles and little things here or there, but nothing crazy. I really didn't get broken until I hit 30. That's when my body has now started to fall apart.
Well, that's when the stuff kind of catches up with you. What do you think beats you up the most?
Hockey.
Yeah.
Just my hips now and I'm sure it also has to do with I've never been big on stretching or even warming up. I've been lifting since I was in 7th grade, and I never really warm up. I never really do any stretching. I just neglect it all.
Yeah.
Even now that I'm saying this, that I'm like, yeah, I need to do it. I still don't do it.
I started getting up about 20 minutes earlier and doing like a 15 to 20 minute yoga-esque routine prior to shift. And because I was getting real bad back spasms, just sitting in a squat all day, and you know how it is, sitting in flexion with that Dewey belt, and then I couldn't do any barbell spinal load on my back at all without getting back spasms. And sometimes I'd even get back spasms from seemingly no reason, but it's all hip related for me. But adding in that morning, just 15-20 minutes prior to getting in squad car and locking everything down, that seems to help a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah, I should stretch. I just don't. I like stretching. I think it feels good. I feel better afterwards, but it's boring.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
It's and it hurts, but not cool hurt.
I like the hurt. I think it feels good.
From stretching?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I like it.
I always am afraid that stretching is going to make me skinny. It makes zero sense whatsoever.
Makes no sense.
I know, but I'm like, no, it's gonna take away my gains. I don't want to stretch. The kettlebell stuff's helped a lot too, though.
With your hips.
Well, with just mobility in general, like the more kettlebell work that I do, like the more that it kind of like pulls you into different spots where like dumbbells and barbells don't necessarily do that, because you can cheat the balance points. Like with the kettlebells, like when you go up overhead with a kettlebell, like that thing's gonna pull your arm
everything
into full range of motion.
Yeah.
As where a dumbbell, like you can do an overhead press with a dumbbell and you can short the range of motion, or feel like you're hitting full range of motion a lot easier, like, and you're really like way far off, or you can be anyway. So that's been kind of cool too, messing with that. And then too, like you said, 30, just wait till you hit 40.
Yeah. I'll probably have 2 new hips by then.
Probably. So you might feel a little bit better, but it becomes like risk versus reward. That's where I really want to talk to. I'm looking forward to talking to Jason from Conjugate Tactical to talk to him about like max effort into your like later decades, like 30s, 40s, even like 50s, 60s. Like, like how heavy should you be going? Because like I listen to Jim Wendler a lot, and Wendler says like you don't need to lift heavy to be strong.
I was just talking, George and I were talking about the other day. It's like it gets to the point where you're like, what's the point? Like, why am I lifting heavy? What am I doing it for? Like pride or what? I mean, if you're not competing, you're not doing anything, what's the point? You're just increasing the risk of injury
for what's the payoff. And then how much, like, what's the requisite strength, like 1 rep maximal strength that you need for what you're doing, and it's like, all right, when I was doing CrossFit competitively, it was like, all right, even that had a requisite amount of strength where it's like, if you got to have like a 500, 520 deadlift, like you can probably stop working on that for a little bit, and let that slide a little bit. Like you're good enough for what we need you to do. This is not a powerlifting competition. And actually, I was talking to the Academy guys about this a little bit, where it's like, what is the payoff for having like new cops or recruits like lift maximal weights, lift heavy weights?
I don't think they need to lift maximum weights or heavy weights, but I think it's very important to teach them like correct form,
movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can go to the gym and lift, and I'm sure you've seen it, and people just do everything so messed up, you're just gonna hurt yourself. Especially when you start throwing more weight on there. If your form isn't good, you're just gonna hurt yourself when you start trying to lift heavy.
Yeah, and it's not even really, I mean, form's one way to put it. I really like looking at things as far as like movement archetypes and movement patterning, because then you can translate that to everything else. Because like fitness and strength and lifting, as far as law enforcement goes, is like one aspect of what we need to train these new guys to do. Like if you can see like, all right, this is a, I don't know, front squat, right, with kettlebells or whatever, or sandbag squat, let's say. Now, how does that translate to the mat room? How does that translate to the range? How does that translate to just getting in and out of a squad car? Once you can make that connection, then it starts to like, reinforces across the board.
I think it's important though for them to find something to do. It doesn't have to be lifting. It doesn't have to be running. It can be jujitsu or something, to just stay active. Because how many people with cops that just don't do anything? They literally go
all home. Of them.
Yes, they just go home and they sit there and they don't work or do anything at all. You're not benefiting one bit.
Stop. Get out of here, dog. You knock the computer over. Smack. Some of that is like, I always view police work as a microcosm of society, right? So it's like the issues that cops have are the same issues that society has at large. It's basically the same because we are part of society. The difference is that the issues we have oftentimes feel, and maybe it's just because I live in this world, but they feel exaggerated compared to like the rest of the population.
Like what?
Like, I don't know, divorce rates, for example. Like if it's 51% or 50% general population, what are cops, like 70% or something? Alcohol rates, suicide rates, it's all kind of like they have the same, but it's exaggerated numbers. So it could be like the sample size is smaller, so it just affects it disproportionately, potentially. I don't know, but when you're talking about like fitness and doing things outside the job, most people I don't think do things outside of their job.
No.
But in addition to like the amount of time that we spend on the job is ridiculous.
I think it's easier for me to sit and say cops need to be more active than somebody working in an office, just because of the potential of what you might have to do as a cop.
Right.
I mean, think about some of the cops you see on the street. Do you want to go get into a fight with them? Like, you don't trust them rolling around with you because they're going to gas out. Like, but somebody working in an office, who cares?
Right.
So it's easier for you to say that, but it's still probably, the ratio is still probably the same from the rest of the population to police as far as working out goes, I think.
Yeah, I would wonder. I don't even know how you get those stats.
I mean, I see a lot of people going to the gym, working out, and they're not cops.
Right.
I also go to the gym and don't see a lot of cops, so
yeah,
probably know a lot of cops that do work out too.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would. It would all have to be like self-report. That'd be interesting to see. Like try to get nationwide stats on how many cops work out, what style of training that you do. I wonder if there's a way you could do that. Figure that out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
That would be a cool study, even if it were just a survey. And surveys aren't like super like accurate,
right?
Because it's all self-report's not accurate, but it would at least give you something, because now it's just like we're just guessing, right? It's just conjecture. We could be totally wrong.
You'd also have to define all your terms. What do you consider like working out regularly? Once a week, twice a week, type thing. Some people go and walk, once a week they'll go for a mile walk or something. Do you consider that working out?
Well, yeah. I mean, dude, I've been trying to actually get out of my car and walk on shift. Yeah. Not like walk down the road several miles, but
I've thought of that because someone rode with him and said that he walked like they walked like 3 miles in one day while on shift.
Yeah. Well, there's I mean, that's like the big thing now, like as far as like fitness gurus on social media is like, just get your steps in, 10,000 steps a day, 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not discounting that, I guess, but
I think it's just an easy way to get some sort of activity.
Yeah. And I mean, like Stan Efferding talks about that. Like he's real big on 3 10-minute walks a day. Now, the intensity and the pace of his walks is way higher. Like
speed walking's harder than running.
Yes. And that he does 3 10-minute walks a day. He times them up like after or around his meals to help with digestion. And when he walks, dude, he goes to town. And he calls it a brisk walk. But it's about 2 notches down, I would say, from a jog.
Yeah.
and that's what he does. That's what he does for cardio. He always has. He has great results with it, and all his athletes. And but to say, and if you do 3 10-minute walks a day around your meals, like you'll get 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
Now, some of that is like the intensity of those walks should be a little bit higher. Like they don't have to be. It's not going to be like you're sweating working out, but it can't just be. Or I don't know, if you can add some layer of intensity to it, I think you're gonna get more out of it from a metabolic activity standpoint. Because that's really what it's designed to do, is just keep your metabolism active for a more portion of the day.
They do proper running form, and people teach it. Someone needs to start teaching proper power walking form.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
I don't know.
Speed walking is harder than running.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. This was years ago. This guy was talking about that. He was saying you walk as fast as you can, and as soon as you're hit that point where you can't walk any faster, then you break into a jog, and it's like, thank God.
Yes.
Thank God I get to jog now.
Yep. I think you're holding everything tighter too. You're not floating, so you're not maximizing your energy output, basically. If you want to go that speed, you can use less energy jogging than you are walking.
Yes. And I think that is because of there's got to be some physics behind it for like connection versus disconnection with the ground. So like the same kind of thing is true of like Olympic weightlifting with the barbell, right? So our connection to the floor, I should say, on the barbell. So in like when you're doing a muscle variation, muscle clean, muscle snatch, it's like it's harder, right? But you can't use near as much weight. You're going to be connected the entire time to the bar and the ground versus like a power clean or a squat clean or whatever, where you're going to disconnect and reconnect, move through space,
maximize your movement.
And then you can lift a shit ton more weight, obviously. Right. But nobody wants to do those muscle variations. I tell you, there's a really cool program that I downloaded from Jason Theobald. He's this awesome like bodybuilding coach and like nutrition guru. Mm-hmm. But it was basically how to get huge without a squat rack. I can't believe you think that dog is ugly. But everything was based around the muscle snatch, which I'd never seen before. But anytime you did a front squat or a back squat, you had to clean it and put it on your back. So it really like mitigated the amount of weight that you could do because you're limited by you got to take it off the floor. Right. You don't even need a squat rack. Yeah. So it was like no bench, everything was overhead, and it was kind of cool. I did it for like a week.
There we go. There we go. Back to workout plans.
All right. So what are you getting after for 2023? Like,
right now I'm getting like shit workouts in, so I really want to focus more on getting better sleep, I think, for one thing, and just working out harder. But I want to get my hips figured out. Sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. When you get something that just kind of like nags, it gets hard to intensity becomes like, I don't want to say impossible, but very hard to layer intensity.
It hurts
when you're
everything hurts. Like you're benching whatever, and you can feel your hip hurting just getting down on the bench or whatever. And then I think about wanting to stretch my hip instead of when I'm doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing in the gym.
It'd be cool. I just got this done on my elbow because I've been having like issues with a nerve in my elbow and scar tissue and stuff. So it's this shockwave therapy. I don't know if you heard of this thing. I can't remember what the exact name is. I'll have to look it up and give it to you. But it's basically like not ultrasound. I can't remember what kind of sound wave it is, but it is powerful and it hurts. And they send pulses through, and it kind of like cleans stuff out.
Is it like a giant machine? What's it?
Yeah, but it's like have you ever had the ultrasound? Yeah. So it looks like that, but they put it on and like they put it on my elbow and it goes dunk 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 dunk, and you can feel it go all the way through the tissue. And
never heard of it.
Oh man, it might be good for your hip.
Yeah.
I mean, it cleaned up my elbow in a day.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to go back and get a couple more treatments on it, and I think it should be fine.
Where do you do it?
Just 20 minutes up the road. The Calb, free advertising for no one that's going to listen to this. The Calb Chiropractic. So I can get you Lee Nagel. That's the dude. Okay. So yeah, I was surprised at how well it worked and how quickly. It was real sore and swollen for about 2 days, and then after that, it was like I could press overhead again.
Yeah,
not in pain with that nerve getting impinged. So I don't know if it is scar tissue that needs to be broken up. That'll break it up.
It could be. Yeah. Might as well try it, I guess, and see if it works.
Push that surgery off.
Yeah.
So what do you think about like training for like tactical teams, like SWAT teams?
As far as what you can do on your own?
What's the best? I don't know, like if best is the right word, but like what style of training you think is effective for the work that we do on a SWAT team?
I think it just comes down to finding what you like, so you're doing something, so you're just not being a lazy piece of shit. I mean, I don't think there's no one size fits all for everybody. Not everybody's going to like the same thing, and if you don't like it, you're not going to want to do it.
Well, that's true. I mean, the most effective fitness routine is the one you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like regardless.
Yeah. I like to do some, like in the summer or whatever, I'll get more functional stuff, you know, throw my vest on and go do walks with the vest, get breathing hard, and then go do dry fires with my pistol or something.
Yeah.
So you're, I mean, it simulates chasing someone. I mean, you're not getting the adrenaline rush, but something, you know,
Right.
to make it different.
Yeah, you can never simulate that stress.
No.
I mean, it's about as close as you can get to it, but the amount of stress that you get when you're about to have a physical altercation with somebody is fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the worst, I think this was like shifting topics a little bit. I can't remember who I was talking to. But I was talking about like sympathetic parasympathetic shift, right? Nervous system, like reaction to like fights and stuff on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'll stand by this one. It is worse to have an almost fight than to have a fight. Like I hate that when you start getting ramped up, you're like, this dude's about to fight. Like I had it today. You were off like a bum. Mm-hmm. But I had this dude, he didn't want to give me his name. He gave me a fake name. He was sweating. Like he probably had a gun in the apartment. I was like, this dude's gonna fight. Something's gonna happen. I'm gonna have to put like he's got a warrant. Like something was gonna happen, and then it didn't materialize. And like you know, he went about his business. I got his name, ran him. He was negative, and that was that. But I was ready for the fight,
mm-hmm.
and it was like afterwards for about a good half hour. It's like, all right, now you got to work on calming down,
right? Yeah,
you know, from all that. But
yeah,
but if there's that finality, I guess, of an actual fight, then that's a lot easier from a physiological standpoint to
mm-hmm.
deal with than it is to have all that just anticipation of the fight and then nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I see what you mean.
So I think that like from a stress management standpoint and like I don't know, like you get conditioned to live in this state of anxiety. I think that is a lot of it because there's a lot more almost altercations than we have altercations, but we do have a lot of of those too.
You get used to it a little bit.
Yeah. Is that a good thing? You know, like
probably not, because then you get conditioned to it, and then you get more. You know, it comes back down to what usually happens and how you're going to react when it actually does happen.
What do you mean?
Like this usually doesn't turn into a fight,
right?
So you're just expecting that instead of then being ready for the fight.
Oh, see, yeah, and I think there is a lot of people that do that.
Yes. I'm not saying that's what you do or we do,
right?
But I'm like, it definitely a lot of cops get into that routine. You know, they say like routine traffic stops. You know, a lot of cops get into that mindset where like, this doesn't usually happen. Yeah. Nothing's going to happen.
Assume compliance.
Yes.
Yeah. So so I think I go hard the other way where I'm always counting like that dude today.
Yeah.
Like I was 100% sure this guy's going to fight and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to go into the wall and I'm going to take a leg and then we're going to go on a single leg and then he's going to I'm going to go right on top and flip him over. Right. So I'd already had the fight in my head. I was planning on doing it. And like from a safety standpoint, that's probably better. But from an overall like nervous system standpoint, like, man, that's definitely not. But I mean, like, where do you want to?
Where's the harm in that? I mean, I don't think it's really going to have any effect.
Oh, I think nervous system adaptation like is huge. Like you talk about like PTSD and stuff like for law enforcement, like it's huge.
Yeah.
And like that always living in that high rev, like yellow, orange, red type, you know, whatever you want to call it, is huge for anxiety, for trauma response, for all those things that, you know, like we will think about later when we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, well, what's the alternative? Like, do you just say, no, okay, well, I'd rather like try to ratchet my nervous system down, but then you're wrong and you get physically hurt. Like that's going to also give you a poor effect on your nervous system, and you're going to be fucked up or dead.
Yeah.
So you can't really do that.
A lot of it comes down to your personality and just how you are.
Yeah. And then I think that law enforcement as a whole really misses uh, the big picture, right? So it's like, what is this? We talk about training new cops, we talk about training current cops, like what's ideal training for tactical teams. It's all stress management,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like all of it is. And how do you teach your people to manage stress physically and emotionally and mentally?
Yeah. That's
Uh, how do you do that?
right.
I mean, a combination of everything.
Yeah.
You know, but to put it in that context, I think is pretty important. Where it's like, you know, nobody really talks about stress.
No.
They talk about stress management, but it's like get a good night's sleep and
Right.
like eat some veggies, like
Simple stuff.
yeah, like take a walk. Like all right, shut the fuck up. Like we're not dealing with like normal people stress. Like
right.
oh, the UPS man didn't deliver my Amazon package on time or whatever. But yeah, so
But then on top of job stress, you have stress at home, you have stress everywhere else too. It's not just
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah,
But everyone has stress at work too. It's a different kind of stress. Not everyone's like you don't think someone's trying to kill you at every job. But
right. Yeah, that's what's weird about this job is like the way I kind of look at it is like it's a mini deployment every time you go to work, right? So it's like you have to like ratchet it up, ratchet it back down, have ways that you do that and you come back. But it's like when I lived in the same district that I worked in, like that was an absolute nightmare and I hated it. I thought I would like it. And it was just like this constant like, where am I? Am I at home? I'd stop at home for lunch or whatever. It's like I can't make this transition this quickly.
Yeah.
Like I need to be gone when I'm at work.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you said, like but the real life stress doesn't stop because you're getting text messages from family, like your kids are sick, your dog shit on the carpet or whatever. Like so you can't really get away with it. It's just weird.
It's
a weird
nice.
job.
It's nice at our job that we can do things at work that other people can't. You know, we can take care of thing outside of work stuff while we're at work, but it's also makes it more stressful for us because then you have all the time. You have that stress all the time.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with stress?
I don't. I just
Oh,
let it fester.
Yep.
No, I think I actually like breathing. Breathing drills are huge, and um, really understanding how to change your nervous system like that makes everything easier. That makes decision making in the moment easier. That makes dealing with the fallout of whatever it is, whether it's a fight, a not fight, a shooting, whatever. Like that makes that easier if you understand. Like, all right, my nervous system's getting ratcheted up. I need to bring it back down. Here's how I do it. I swear by cold exposures. I love them. But hate them at the same time. So like every day, that's part of like yoga, stretch, and then right into the ice tub for like 2-3 minutes.
And how do you think that helps you?
Because it puts you into that that state, that sympathetic state, that fight or flight. Like you can't avoid it. So when you get into ice, cold water, like you will go there. No doubt. So now you know it's going to happen. You're forcing it to happen. Now you have to manage it in the moment. And the goal is not just to sit there and take it, but the goal is to calm down and crash out. And as soon as you can calm down, and you're like, okay, cool. I'm not going to freeze to death. I'm not like hyperventilating. I'm not shivering. And then you could sit there for a while. But by that point, you've done your job. You've done what you need to do in the ice, and you can get out. And then all the physiological effects like cascade after that. And like Andrew Huberman's got some awesome podcasts on cold exposures and how like as far as like epinephrine, adrenaline, and a few other hormones that like you're eliciting that on purpose. So it really does a lot for like wakefulness and stuff like that. So that's kind of beside the point, but the stress management in the moment is huge, and learning how to do that with the cold exposures is like
one of the best things. Like you talk about simulating stress. Like every time you get into an ice bath, like if we go down to the pond and jump in, like your body is going to tell you, get the fuck out of here because you're going to die, which is true. But like we're in a controlled environment, we can handle it. Like we're only here for an experiment, basically. But your body will tell you that every time. So how do you manage that? And then the same's kind of true of like, you know, a traffic stop where you think something's going to go bad. Your body's telling yourself, get the fuck out of here. Don't do this, you know, but you have to manage that in the moment and deal with it. So it's like the direct correlation to what we do is huge.
Yeah.
Watch me just go crap on the floor. But as far as like stress management, like so that's navigating at the moment, and then it, you know, it helps kind of take the edge off too, and like can help sleep and stuff. But like having things outside of the job, like hence the reason we're even doing this podcast, is so that we got something else to do, or you know, like some other avenue of outlet. And I really like stuff that is like, I don't know, it allows you to see the other side. So like we deal with like, I don't know, the nastiness of the job if you want, but like other things that are not bad, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I was like Disney so much. Because it's
That's
like
just more stress.
well, just because they take all your money away.
Yeah, and
but
all the people there.
But I don't mind that. But like having that other side of the coin, whatever it is, like you do your stuff with your outdoor stuff, your camping, like that's the other side of the coin. You know?
Yeah. Like hockey. I wish I could skate more often, because when I skate, I think it de-stresses me a lot. And it's usually after work that I go skate, because it's usually in the afternoon evenings on Sundays. So
What is it about skating?
I don't know. Probably just that I've done it most of my life, so it's familiar. I don't know, it takes you back to when you had no stress.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid. I don't know. You like to skate?
Yeah,
You should come skate more often.
I should. You know, I was like, you know what it always reminds me of is like when I was a kid and we had a backyard rink and it was like dark and I'd be skating until it was dark, just by myself. Just you hear the blades crunch and like it.
There is nothing better than the sound and the feeling of skating outside in the winter.
Even if you're crappy,
Yeah.
like it's still
It
awesome.
sounds completely different than an indoor rink, than a regular rink. Just, and the ice isn't perfect, so that you hear the bumps more. And
And that pond needs to freeze.
I know. I know.
Because that dude will have that thing cleaned off in like a heartbeat.
I keep saying that I'm gonna put a rink in my backyard every year, but now I feel like it's not worth it. Like you get maybe a couple of days out of it.
Yeah.
Like Ben and Luke, they've only gotten maybe 3 nights out of theirs this year.
They put a rink up?
Yeah, it's big.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Is it like Osgood's?
Some of those outdoor rinks up in Canada are ridiculous.
Well, it's because they can use them for 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
I'd have one too.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to talk about?
No.
All right. I think that was a good intro. We'll get more of these up. It'll be awesome. Or mediocre. Either way. Cool. Just joining conversation tonight.
All right, that was the Heroic Nation podcast with my buddy Spencer. If you are interested in finding more about Heroic Industries, what we stand for, about creating heroes, and all that kind of stuff, our mission, our product, our services, we have individual coaching, we have group coaching, so all kinds of different stuff, course design, program design, all kinds of cool shit that you can do to make your life more heroic from top to bottom. Check us out at Heroic Industries on basically all social media platforms. Heroic Industries on Facebook, Heroic Industries on Instagram, as well as TikTok. Heroic Industries on TikTok, which sounds super, super ridiculous and stupid and juvenile. But man, that thing's actually kind of fun to mess with. So so check it out and hit me up on social media, and I will get back to you if you have ideas on show topics, guests, anything that you'd like to see. If you would like to be on the show, I really don't care who I talk to at this point. So real low barrier to get on here. But hope you enjoyed the show. And like I said, if you got feedback, hit me up on social media, and I will get back to you. And live heroic.